Hi everyone, Nubkeks here, hope you're all having a good day. I've had a horrible day, I got food poisoning and I've been really sick, so this is good fun. But here we are in Here's the Storm, and I'm showing you some gameplay on Raynor. So as you know, I am not a fan of Raynor. I've ranked him quite low in terms of hero strength, and I've also spoken about him poorly in several of my videos. So what I want to do in this video is to actually go play some Raynor, take him for a spin, and see if that sort of criticism was warranted, or if I should be kind of nicer to him and have a better opinion. It's something that is important to me to do as like Here's the Storm YouTuber, is to make sure that I'm always going back and reassessing things that I say so I can bring you guys the best information. So you've already seen me do that, like for example with Brightwing in the last couple of months, is that, you know, I didn't like Brightwing, went back and played her, and now I really like her. We'll see if the same thing happens with Raynor. I will say, I won't tell you how this game goes, but I will say that I still don't like Raynor very much after playing him. That's like not an objective thing though, that's just my subjective thing in terms of what I personally like in a hero. Now I do think that does tie over to his strengths and weaknesses somewhat. I'll tell you why. So basically, look, if you guys ask me, Nubkeks, what are your favorite things about assassins? You know, what is it that you like? If you could design your ideal assassin, what would it be? You can see, unfortunately, missing my cue. Not identifying correctly the center of a circle right there. Not one of my strengths, apparently. But he said, what are your favorite things about an assassin? And I would say, well, I suppose my top 3 things with an assassin would be burst damage, so that I can, you know, you can make plays, you can punish people who get out of position. Mobility, so you can, you know, you can play more aggressively, you know, and then you can escape from a position you went into aggressively. Or you can either dive forwards more aggressively using that mobility. And then I also like wave clear, which is an important part of carrying, an important part of being an assassin, being able to clear those waves. Now, obviously, you look at Raynor. Raynor has none of those things, okay? He does not have any mobility. He does not have any burst damage, really. And he does not have any wave clear. I know people said to me in previous videos and stuff, like, oh, Raynor's wave clear is actually pretty good. It's really not. I'm sorry, it's really, really bad. I appreciate that his W makes your minions attack faster. It really does not contribute to any good form of wave clear at all. It's really, really bad. So Raynor is just, he's by default, he's missing a lot of the things that I like in an assassin. And at the same time, he's also, I think, you know, they're not only things that I like about an assassin, they're things that make assassins able to make plays and be playmakers. The fact that you are leaders in terms of pushing waves and pushing structures and stuff like that, assassins and specialists combined, usually, is that you have a lot of wave clear and a lot of damage, so you do kind of control the early game laning. Then the fact that, yeah, that you have the mobility and the burst damage to kind of make aggressive plays, punish people for being out of position. It's just, you just simply can't do that very much on Raynor. I also thought this was a good time for doing some videos on Raynor because I just did a Vala video the other day, and I mean, Vala is possibly like my favorite hero in the entire game, like over the entire course of me playing this game. She's my most played hero, my best hero probably, and yeah, one of the heroes that I enjoy more than any of the others. And it's kind of funny, you'd think then that, well, you know, Vala and Raynor, they're relatively similar in terms of what they do, right? So surely if you love Vala, you should at least like Raynor. It's not the case, and I think it should be kind of interesting to watch the 2 videos sort of side by side and kind of see some of the differences in terms of strengths and weaknesses kind of actually playing out in what I'm able to do. Like, look at it, this is the best wave clear I can do here, right here, you see? It's really bad. Chen is doing more wave clear than I am, realistically. A lot more. But yeah, for example, we have a Zagara on the enemy team, in both of these games actually, once again failing. I was kind of like, wait, what the hell? It does have a really narrow width, that skill shot, but like I'm really screwing up hitting those Qs on the creep tumors, really screwing it up. I kind of noticed that myself during the game. I was like, okay, need to pay a little bit more attention because I'm missing way too many of these, and it's a bit of a waste. But yeah, I mean, we could do a pop quiz. So in one of these games, on either the Vala or the Raynor game, I push a wave to the fort, start pushing down the fort, the Zagara rotates to try to defend it, then she's at half health, I dive under the fort, burst her down to death, and then escape from his air tool. Let me just guess, pop quiz, which one was that? Was that on Vala or was that on Raynor? I think pretty obviously it's that was on Vala, not on Raynor. The reasons being obviously that, well, you don't have any burst damage, you're really not in a position to push like down a lane because you really can't escape. All you can do is run away. You can knock people back, but as you'll see in this game, the Q is actually fairly difficult to land. The Q, I gotta be honest with you, it's not the easiest skill shot to land. It's the only thing that's difficult about Raynor, I suppose, in some ways. So you would get some good practice on it, but yeah, I don't know. You're missing out on a lot of hero opportunities. At the same time, what are his strengths? Well, his strengths are that he does a lot of sustained damage. He really does. His right click is very, very powerful. It's very powerful. To give you guys some tips as well, one of the things I found when I was playing this game was I found myself kind of going, okay, stop. I need to, as opposed to say on Vala, where more of her power is within her abilities have a lot of damage intrinsic in them. What I found with Raynor was that far more of his power is within his right click than it is on Vala. So whereas with Vala, I can basically, you know, be somewhat a little bit looser with who I'm attacking. You know, it doesn't matter as much who I'm attacking. Because again, it's landing her abilities well counts for so much. I found with Raynor, in order to be effective at Raynor, I really need to focus on my right click. You can see here, I wanted to clear out that creep tumor. Quickly realized that's a really bad idea, and luckily I do escape alive. But I probably deserve to die for doing that. That was pretty dumb. I found that, okay, I found I had to make a conscious decision to, instead of just kind of use attack move and attack whatever was closest, to really focus my right clicks. And again, this is something you can also do thanks to his passive, his trait, which increases your range. I found that it was very important to actually focus those right clicks onto priority targets, to try to focus those targets a bit more in the back line that I really wanted to focus on taking down. Oh, you have to excuse me for a second. Oh god. Alright guys, we are back. Hopefully my video player just crashed there. My video card driver just spazzed out. So hopefully I didn't miss too much commentary time. This is about where we left off. Again, I've been sick, so I need to kind of rush to get these out, so I don't have time to edit it halfways and then go back. So I'm just going to dive in. It should be okay. So yeah, I need to say I'm also still within my sort of losing streak of games. It's been a thorough nightmare. The wins and stuff. So this game is going as well. Before, let's just step away from talking about Raynor for a second. This game is going pretty badly so far. And it's something I found a little bit with Raynor, to be honest with you, because Raynor inherently, he scales very well later into the game. He scales really, really well. Like, he does a lot of damage, but like, he is very weak at those early levels because all you have is your right click, and at the start of the game, that's very, very weak. It really isn't very impactful. Compared to, let's say, I mean, like, heroes at the start of the game, they're just much squishier, yeah? They're much, much squishier. So compared to, like, comparing level 2 to level 20, by level 20, the team fights typically go on much longer. The healers are more powerful. People have more health relative to the damage. So in those situations, as the game goes on, Raynor becomes more impactful because he does a lot of high sustained damage with his right clicks. So over the course of those longer team fights, and again, his talents do scale very well as well. Over the course of those team fights, you start doing a lot more damage effectively. But whereas at the start of the game, where the team fights can be much quicker, much shorter, you really don't get as much value out of Raynor at all as you do out of some other heroes. But anyway, yeah, this game is going pretty terribly. As you can see, level 14 to level 11, it's pretty awful. We really did very badly on the first phase of the temples. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but again, our teammates were, I think, just a bit slow to rotate. We kind of got the end of one of the temples, but the enemy team got most of the first two temples. I think they got all of the second temple phase, the bottom temple as well, and most of that one too. You know, I went up top lane to clear wave, and then half of them died. I went in to help out Falstad, and we all died, and it all went horribly, horribly wrong. So this game is going pretty badly. But anyway, we'll see how things go. Again, I will start being able to have more of an impact as we go further, because I've got Raynor, and he does scale up a little bit better. as things go on. Let me actually talk about my talent picks here, because Raynor, she doesn't have the best talent diversity, to be honest with you. He really doesn't. So at level 1, I picked up Seasoned Marksman. This is something I didn't used to pick up, but I think I definitely will pick up more now. I think it probably is the best level 1 talent by far. Basically, as minions or heroes die near you, it will stack up and you get up to 40 bonus attack damage, which is pretty fantastic because Raynor's got a pretty fast attack speed, especially while this W is active. So that's pretty great. It adds up to a significant amount more damage. You can also activate it when your quest is finished. You will get to see me using that during this game as well, which gives you a small 30% attack speed bonus for a short amount of time. So that's pretty decent. At this point, I made a little bit of a mistake. I probably should have just gone back and started attacking the boss instead of clearing the wave. Yeah, I think I should have. I've got decent damage against the boss. Also, you do empower your allies with your W, so that's more damage for them. And that would have been a bit more effective, I think, than pushing that way. But oh well. At level 4, I went for focused attacks. So this gives you bonus damage on your next basic attack every 10 seconds, and basic attacks lower the cooldown of that charge a little bit every single time. This actually gives you a small little bit of burst, and especially because you got such a long range, it does let you poke people a little bit, especially when you hit. You can see when I hit Zagara there, it did a nice little chunk of damage on her. So yeah, using that effectively is going to be an important part of playing Raynor, and it also contributes to what I was saying before, that, you know, landing your basic attacks on key targets, like using your right click to really focus in on a target. It's going to be very important. At level 7, I went for... I think level 7 is actually the tier where you've got the most flexibility and stuff. So this was awkward. I see the enemy team starts diving top. Chromie actually dies up top while I was on the way. As soon as I leave, Falstad dies. And then I come in and the fight is pretty much already lost on top lane. Chen does eventually turn around and start helping us out, which is good. But yeah, things are going pretty badly for us so far. Enemy team does secure the bottom part there. There are talents here up as well, plus 2 heroes up, so we really don't want to fight too much here. It's looking pretty bad. Yeah, you've got flexibility on level 7, I feel. He's got a talent that I actually really like. What's it called? I forget what it's called, but basically it's like battle momentum, kind of. It's whenever something that you damage dies, it reduces the cooldown of all your abilities. I think it's actually really nice, especially on maps like Tomb of the Spider Queen, something like that, where you can potentially kill a lot of things. I think it could be really good. You can see whenever we kind of force an engagement, I'm going to drop down to Hyperion. I think it's one of the most redeeming factors about Raynor, is that the Hyperion is a really good heroic. Like, it is very strong. Yeah, it really wrecks people. It's a lot of AoE damage. It makes it very awkward that this Uther knows he's dead. It really wrecks people quite hard. I also think Hyperion, it's definitely the better level 10 overall. I also think it's good at like doing things like pushing in with an objective or countering an objective push. So for example, again, like Tomb of the... I'm really curious to try Raynor again on Tomb of the Spider Queen and see how he functions there, or on Infernal Shrine, something like that, where you do have these pushing objectives that aren't necessarily that strong by themselves, but that you can really enhance using that Hyperion. I'm really curious to see how that would work, because it does, like when you throw a Hyperion on top of that pushing objective, it really makes it much more effective. It clears out the waves. It also pressures enemy heroes very much off going in. This Sonya is, oh boy, way out of position. She's regretting that lazy back, that's for sure. I've done those before too. Yeah, it's also nice to defend against those things, like the enemy's doing a big web weaver push or something. Boom, throw down the Hyperion, clears out the wave you've built up, kind of pressures you off as well, and helps Raynor kind of focus on single target damage on that. Hyperion is really nice. The level 7 talent though I did go for in this game, and probably the one that's picked most often, is I think it's called Revolution Overdrive. Whenever you use Inspire your W, it gives you a movement speed boost for every allied hero that's affected. So it really does help a lot. Raynor is so immobile, just adds some mobility. It just helps you moving around the battlefield more and getting those right clicks in and being able to position a little bit more. It kind of counters this lack of mobility. It's a pretty nice talent, I have to say. Level 13, I went for Giant Killer. I just think it's probably the best thing for Raynor. Again, he's so focused on his right click, and his right click is pretty fast. So Giant Killer is a pretty obvious choice to go alongside that. And then at level 16, in this game I made a mistake actually in this game. I went for Bullseye, I think it's called, which is your Q now stuns the target for 1 second. I quickly realized during the later stages of the game that actually This is really hard to do, that it stuns the first target against this team, because they've got a Nubarak, and guess what? A Nubarak, unfortunately, spawns beetles, and those beetles like to get in the way, and those beetles like to eat those stuns. So it actually made it quite hard to actually land stuns on people. You can see fine, like I couldn't stun a Nubarak initially. I had to wait until those beetles were out of the way before I could land a stun on him. And also the Q's kind of hard to hit. I think at level 16, Executioner is the ideal thing to go for. However, unlike Vala, remember like I was saying in the Vala video, where I think Executioner is her best talent as well. Vala, if you build her right, she's got several ways to kind of self-apply, to self-trigger Executioner, whereas Raynor does not. Raynor does not. That's actually a big Divine Shield coming out from them. That was really, that was really ambitious. I knew I was probably fairly safe right there, because I had my E. Unfortunately, I missed my Q, which is kind of bad. Gonna pick off this Greymane. There we go. Greymane does go down, so pretty nice. But yeah, wow, they went really hard for me, and it really didn't pay off for them. Like, just a simple Blink Heal and Pixie Dust from Brightwing is enough to counter like a Divine Shield, so that's a big, big win for us. That's a little bit of a turnaround now in the last few fights. We've started doing significantly better. If you guys can let me know, by the way, what that effect was in the Nidus Worm. I've not seen that before, and I don't know what it is. I presume it's Sagara trying to use it, but I really don't know what that is. See that little red kind of warning thing that came up above that? Let me know if you know what it is, and I'll be grateful. Level 20, I picked up Nexus Frenzy. I felt this feels so good to use this talent. It feels so much better. It feels like this massive power increase to Raynor. Absolutely massive. It gives you more range, I think, and more attack speed. At this stage, so 3 of the enemy team are dead. I was like, we should do the boss right now. You can see I was trying to shock call a bit more in this game, because again, I've just been losing so many games. I'm kind of getting sick of losing. And I was like, I do not want to lose this one. I'm going to try my best to win this, no matter what. And we are losing quite hard, so I was like, alright, we got to do this. Now, that being said, we are level 20 to level 19. And it does look like we're going to get the boss. I'm actually saying here that we should end with the boss. I think this is the right call. We have the level 20 advantage. Unfortunately, this boss is killing me, which kind of sucks. But yeah, we're going to have a boss pushing in. We've got level 20. There's still 2 heroes dead in the enemy team. They're going to be coming back to the fight. But Sonya is dead for a long time, so this is pretty great for us. So I was kind of thinking at this stage, alright, excellent. We're in a really good spot to just push in and try to win the game. I kind of felt like if the game goes on much longer, we might just lose it. So that's why I was calling for that. We'll see what happens. Falstad has gone back to try to clear up the stuff. That's a good idea. He can, of course, fly in. Now, myself was a Chromier back here trying to deal with this wave and push it in with the boss. Our teammates did go in kind of hard on their own. They're in a pretty tough spot. The Temple Loop actually brings Greymane back. He gets Divine Shielded and kills Brightwing, so that's pretty terrible. I don't know why our teammates were kind of going forwards there onto the walls. I don't think it was too important. And in fact, it cost them a lot. So I really wasn't a big fan of that move. I'm just destroying that wall, so we got a bit of an out here, seeing as our healer is dead. This is a bit of a gnarly position now. We're probably not in a position to finish anymore. Greymane does go in there, and he does grab a little bit of that temple, enough to finish off our final keep. So we are down all of our keeps. Now we do have a boss pushing on the core, but the boss is almost dead. And even though the enemy team is 2 heroes down, unfortunately we don't have enough to finish off that push. So I really think if we just stuck together, pushed in the waves, pushed in the boss, it would have worked out better. But Greymane trying to contest this. They are getting core shots, that's for sure. But we do manage to secure at least a little bit of this temple, so that's not too bad. Yeah, we're still in this game. However, core damage is coming down on us. At this point, I'm just going to leg it up here. There's no danger of anyone taking that middle temple, so it really doesn't matter, even though like it's very close to being finished. What I really want to do is actually get some hero kills here. So I'm going to try that. I'm going to try kill this Sonya right here. Sonya just pop hard and shield. Chromie combo does hit her though, and our teammates, nice little rotation, well done team, leaving the temple and coming down to us. I'm glad to see they did that. I would have been worried if they didn't. That's pretty nice. Chen looks like he's swinging down to grab the end of that middle shrine, and that's pretty good. So this hasn't gone as ideally as I would have wanted it to, but at least it didn't go too badly. At least we didn't lose the game right there. We're up to 65. We're down to 65%, sorry, of our core health. But at least we secured the end of that temple, and that is something. Looks like Chen might be getting a pick on this Uther, which would be pretty damn sweet. See, I'm running down here to try help out as well. We'll see how things go. Uther popping Storm Shield. He's really trying to get out of here. Not sure that he will. Oh, Divine Shield actually does come out. Chen actually saves Greymane with the barrel. That's rather unfortunate. And we're backing off from this. At this point, I kind of went, oh shit, like we really should have got a pick there. I really feel like Chen saved Greymane. And now we've reached a point where Sonya's about to respawn. And we've gone from winning the game to we're actually losing the game once again pretty hard there. We had a moment there, a few moments, where we were actually winning quite well. The enemy team their deaths were trickling in, they were going too aggressive. However, now the whole enemy team has respawned. We're down 3 keeps, they're only down 1 keep. Now just on the boss lane, but the boss won't be back up for a while. They're in a pretty bad position. However, the enemy team picks a fight, and Raynor starts doing crazy damage this late in the game. As you can see, we just tore through that Anubarak. It's pretty good against Anubarak. Again, Anubarak's big weakness is sort of these sustained damage right-click heroes. He really doesn't like them. And we're able to push in kind of aggressively here. Sonya starts to melt as well. She's got Hardened Shield on though, so once I see that Hardened Shield, I'm going to direct my right clicks onto the Greymane, just drive him off, make sure he can't dive us, do any damage. Going to try focus the Sonya. I don't actually manage to, but Chromie does though. She picks her off with her Q, so really nice. Once again, we are in the driver's seat of this game, so that's pretty sweet. 2 heroes dead. Now that was nice. That was actually a big weight off my chest, because again, once the enemy team had respawned, it was a full 5 versus 5. Sure, we were 2 levels up, and that's a little bit of scaling, but it's not too important. Much more important was the fact that we were down 2 keeps and down to 65% core health. That was really very scary. That had reached the point where, well, you know, these temples become really scary. The possibility of a back door becomes really scary. So at the very least, this does buy us some time to get back into this game. But yeah, Nexus Frenzy, as you can, I don't know, it felt really good picking up Nexus Frenzy. I felt like it was a lot more damage and much more natural using my basic attacks once I had that Nexus Frenzy. I felt like it's a really big power increase. So that's both good and bad. I feel like it means that a lot of Raynor's damage might be stacked towards the late game. Oh, this is important here as well, look. Our core is down to 65%. I'm kind of saying be careful of the back door. The whole enemy team is alive. They know we're on the temple. I'm saying be careful of this back door. And in fact, that's exactly what the enemy team is trying to do here. They're all legging it for our core. Unfortunately for them, they telegraphed it far too much. And I was able to call it out. And our team does retreat and we make it back on time. Now we're in a bit of an awkward spot. We do have these siege things pushing in. And we do have fairly weak wave clear, apart from the false stats. So we're able to clear out those catapults, so they're not going to do any core damage, but the enemy team does make it down to the temple. We're in a really rough spot. I'm just saying to check this bruiser camp. Okay, they're not there. Again, it's just possible that the enemy team would split, would go in with the bruiser camp and then back toward the bruisers. I was saying we need to at least check it. Obviously didn't want to do it. This is pretty bad though. Enemy team is... We're down to 18% on our core. Just a few more shots and we're going to die. We do manage to pick off Uther. The enemy team, I don't know what they did, but they got off the temple. And the temple, the final few shots go onto the enemy's keep instead of our core. That is huge. That is so huge. I presume Uther is going to resurrect here. No, actually, no, sorry. I'm completely wrong. Uther is dead. He's dead for good. He got Storm Shield, of course. Coming in here, Anubarak pops his Hardened Shield. I'm going to go on the Zagara. I'm going to ignore the Anubarak. Now Anubarak going to turn and focus on him. I will get picked off by the Hydralisks there, unfortunately, but our team does wrap up the fight. They pick him off. The enemy team, I think they had it won. I think if they just kept control of that temple, just even dived us, even lost some heroes and drawn us off, I think those final few shots would have picked off the core. However, we now have 3 members of our team diving in onto the core. The enemy team is dead for quite a while. It looks like we should be able to pick this off. Hopefully. But very close right there at the end. Very, very close. I'm saying GG. However, one thing I was noticing is that Falstad is just tanking these catapults like a boss. Falstad does not realize that he can move and attack at the same time. I know it's fairly mind-blowing, but there you go. This is, believe it or not, something you can do. And you are able to dodge catapult shots. I know it's crazy, but you can do it. However, it didn't matter. I was a bit worried at the end seeing Falstad just melting beneath the catapults. But we do manage to pick off the core. And wow! Much harder game than it should have been, I felt. But there you go. Again, I picked Raynor on Sky Temple, which wasn't really a good idea. Very early game map, very snowballing map, and Raynor really doesn't fit there very well. But yeah, I'm interested. Like, I have to say, having played a game of Raynor, I really don't like Raynor as a hero. You can see we did stupid amounts of hero damage in that game, like really stupid amounts of hero damage. So clearly he does a lot of damage. He really does a lot of sustained damage. He's really going to thrive later in the game, and he's really going to thrive if you have longer team fights. I think especially if you've got like double warrior comps or something like that, where the fights just naturally last longer, and also you've got more ways to apply executioner, he's going to do really well. But yeah, I mean, apart from that though, I think he's very niche. I think outside of that niche, he's got so many glaring weaknesses. Just no burst damage, no mobility, no wave clear. And those, like, they really are glaring weaknesses. They're very, very bad. So I'm in two minds about Raynor. Part of, as well, what prompted this video is that I saw the first game of the Super League, which you guys should watch if you're interested in like some pro level Heroes of Storm. You can check it out on OGN Global, their channel on Twitch. They stream the Korean pro games, and it's just the best level of play. It's just amazing. But there's a team called what were they called? MVP Miracle, who are a new team this season. They're playing against Tempo Storm, who were formerly Team Tempest, who are the world champions, the current world champions. And they actually busted out Raynor against Tempo Storm, which I thought was crazy. But they busted it out, and it worked pretty well. The context they used Raynor in, they used him with ETC, Arthas, and Tychus, and I forget what the support was, and they used it against an all melee sort of dive comp, and I think it worked really well. And I think the sort of situation they were using him in was, well, between Arthas and Tychus, and again, wave clear is not as important in pro games because pro teams are just more organized, and they typically deal with wave clear more so by rotating around the map, whereas in Hero League or in just your regular games, you'll find much more that it'll just be people go to their lane assignments and they just kind of deal with that on their own. People don't rotate half as much as they could. So wave clear is not as important in pro games. So Raynor gets a bit more flexibility there. However, you'd think that his sustained damage would be a big nerf to him, but I think it works kind of well with the comp they set up. That, you know, Arthas and Tychus do pretty well when you boost their attack speed. That's a lot more damage on them, so that's kind of nice coming from Raynor. Buffing the attack speed of his allies there is a pretty decent damage boost for them. Also ETC, wow, my luckily the video thing, but my video drivers are just crashing like crazy today. Yes, ping ping ping, thank you. It also likes to tell me 3 times in a row when the video drivers crash. You can't tell me just once. No. But yeah, ETC also gives an attack speed boost, which obviously, seeing as pretty much all of Raynor's damage comes from his attack speed and his basic attacks, that attack speed buff from ETC is pretty powerful too. And then, yeah, he can be decent against like sort of melee assassins and such, because he can knock them back with his Q, which is pretty useful actually. So, you know what? I still feel that Raynor is tier 3. You know, possibly I'm being a little bit harsh because I just really don't like him to play. But clearly he can be very powerful, and I'm curious to try him out on like Infernal Shrines or Tomb of the Spider Queen. Something with that pushing objective. Maybe Battlefield of Eternity as well. Something with a pushing objective, right? If your team has a lot of wave clear within the other heroes, so that, because wave clear is so important on those maps, like especially Tomb of the Spider Queen, it's so important. But if your team already has that basis covered, I think then that Raynor could become very powerful, because Hyperion is such a powerful heroic, and then he really amplifies your team's damage against structures as well. He's got really nice range, and that like when you're in a power position of like pushing down the enemy team's keep with web weavers, you can throw the Hyperion on to enhance it, then you can come forwards, and suddenly your lack of mobility doesn't matter too much, because you're not in too much danger of the enemy team diving you. You're pushing forwards with strength, and that's when Raynor really shines. But just in general, I don't feel like he's as good as other heroes that fulfill a similar niche. For example, Lunara fulfills a sort of similar right-click niche, also a hero that scales very well into late game. But with Lunara, she has crazy siege damage and crazy wave clear and crazy structural damage thanks to her Nature's Culling talent at level 7. So like that just puts her kind of above and beyond, in my opinion. Now, in contrast, of course, Raynor does a lot more single target damage and single target focus because of his right clicks, whereas Lunara's right clicks are more about spreading damage amongst several heroes and having her poison do the damage, whereas Raynor is just the more upfront right click damage. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I still feel like he's a pretty weak hero. He's pretty niche. But if you do get him in a particular niche, I think he could be pretty good. I think that's what we showed in this game. Like, we did a lot. I mean a lot of hero damage. And yeah, he's good against these tanks. Like, well, he's not amazing against an Uberak. You're somewhat vulnerable to being, you know, to having him dive on top of you and getting you killed. Because you can't dodge his stuff very easily. But at the same time, you also do a lot of damage to someone like an Uberak, or you're pretty good against, again, an Uberak and ETC, two of the most popular warriors at the moment, and Raynor's pretty good against both of them, because again, you've got that, your Q can interrupt a mosh pit, you do a lot of damage against an Uberak. Yeah, I mean, I think there is some stuff going for Raynor. There certainly is. I don't know, let me know what you guys think about Raynor. I'm curious to see what you guys think. And again, for some of you guys who do really like Raynor, or maybe like play a lot of Raynor, let me know what your thoughts are as well. And yeah, I'll see you guys very soon for some PTR gameplay. The PTR has just come out as I'm recording this commentary, so I'll hopefully be trying to get you some Oriel gameplay and some gameplay of some other heroes on the PTR very, very soon too. So I will see you all then. Thank you for watching this video. Hope you guys are doing well, and don't get food poisoning and get horribly sick. And I will see you all next time. Bye bye.